Good evening, afternoon, morning, whenever you're watching this video. Happy Monday nonetheless. I pray that everything is good with you all. I had to re-record this video, had some technical difficulties, so my apologies for that, but I guarantee you this video will not be long, simply because it's a potluck week. And so again, potluck weeks are basically when my students bring me a concept that they are having troubles, issues, or problems with, and we go over them. But I do it in about 15, 20 minutes instead of taking the entire class period. So that's what a potluck is. Potlucks normally are quick, they are, easy, and I have found that the students really enjoy, learning different concepts in such a condensed pace. So remember, if you have a concept that you would like for me to go over, please drop it down in the comment section. Or if you have my personal information, you are more than welcome to reach out and contact me via text or via email. Okay, so without further ado, we are going to go ahead and get started. All right, so what I've done already, and I can go ahead and further explain how these problems came to be. Make it bigger so that way everybody can see it. Okay. All right. Now, I chose number 9 and number 10 because they deal with distributive property and they deal with some reinforcements that I want to go over. Okay. So numbers 9 and 10 have already been done, but I am going to explain how I came up with the answer. All right. So this was my original problem, -5 multiplied by 1 minus 4a. These are in parentheses, and that's greater than -5. So I just simply went ahead and rewrote the problem there. Now, we have distributive property here. Remember, distributive property is when you have a number that is on the outside of the parentheses, and you are multiplying it by whatever is inside of the parentheses. So I simply multiplied -5 times 1, and I have -5 here. And then I multiplied -5 times -4a, and that gave me a positive 20a. So again, we are reinforcing multiplying like terms, unlike terms, and integers. So again, you have to make sure that your fundamentals of math is strong. And I will be sure to leave the playlist at the end of this video that will help you if you need further assistance. Okay. Now, all of that is greater than -5. Now, the next thing I did, I added 5 to both sides because remember, my goal is to isolate my variable. Okay, that's very important to make sure that I am isolating my variable. Okay, so when I did that, I added 5 to both sides. -5 plus 5 is 0. So that's the reason why I crossed it out here. And I also have -5 plus 5 is 0 as my answer. Now, what I now have is 20a is greater than 0. And I divided both sides by 20 because, again, I want to isolate my variable. And when I isolate my variable, I am left with a is greater than 0. Now, I picked the number off the number line and I chose the number 4. And I substituted the number 4 for my letter A. And I just wanted to make sure to see if it was a true statement. 4 is greater than 0. That is a true statement. So that means any number to the right of 0 would suffice as an answer. So what I did, I created or made an open circle over my 0 because that lets me know that 0 is not a part of the solution. And what I did, I just made my arrow to the right of 0 and I shaded in any numbers, fractions, decimals, anything that I can't see or can't see that would suffice as my answer. Okay. Now, just to further prove that my answer is correct, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to pick the number from the left side just to show you on how you can check your work to make sure that you are doing this properly. So I'm going to pick -1. have good morning.
Good morning, Miss Hampton.
Good morning, Miss. You can go ahead and just put yourself on mute because I'm actually getting ready to end this video in about 10 minutes. So you can just stay on mute for the duration of the class time while you're here, and I'll be sure that you still get your credit. All right. So now I'm going to pick -1. So now I'm going to say, is -1 greater than 0? Absolutely not. Remember, negative numbers will be less than positive numbers. So this is not a true statement. So as always, we're going to give that a sad face. All right. So this sad face lets us know that any number to the left of 0 would not be a solution. So again, we want to make sure that when we pick numbers, we want to see if they are going to be true statements. Okay. That's very important. All right. So now I'm going to scroll over to number 10. Okay, and again, number 10 has already been done for us. And I'm just going to go and explain what I did to come up with my answer. Now, my original problem set states -2 multiplied by b plus 1 plus 4 is less than 10. So I just rewrote the problem down here, no biggie. And I recognize immediately that I have distributive property. Remember, distributive property is when you are multiplying the number that's on the outside of the parentheses and you're multiplying it by whatever terms or numbers or whatevers are inside the parentheses. So I have -2 times b, and that gives me -2b. Okay. And I have a -2 times a +1. Remember, a negative times a positive gives you that negative. So that's the reason why I have a -2 here. I'm going to bring down my 4, my +4, and then my less than 10. No biggie, no problem. So far, so good. Now, the next thing I have to determine is, do I have any like terms that I can, bring together? And I do. And I underlined -2 plus 4. So I can add those two numbers together. And when I do that, I come up with a +2. So now I just have -2b plus 2 is less than 10. Now, my next step, again, the goal is to isolate your variable. So what you're going to do, you're going to subtract 2 from both sides. Again, this is dealing with like terms. And then I have -2b is less than 8. Now, when I get to -2b is less than 8, because I am dividing by a negative number, very important, when I'm dividing by a negative number, my sign is going to change. So when I divide both sides by -2, I now have b by itself, and instead of it being less than, my sign has turned from less than to greater than. And that is going to be -4 because 8 divided by -2 is -4. Now, what I did, I picked the number off the number line to determine which direction my line is going to go. So I picked 0. Okay, I had to make sure I picked the right number. So I picked 0. And so I said, is 0 greater than -4? That is a true statement. So because this is a true statement, that lets me know that any number to the right of -4 would suffice as a solution. So I have an open circle over my -4. That lets me know that -4 is not a part of the solution. And I shaded in everything over to the right. I'm just going to reshade it again. Okay. All right. So again, this is just a quick review of how to solve and graph inequalities. This was one of the requests for the potluck this week. So remember, this week is a potluck week. So if there is any concepts that you would like for me to go over for the duration of this week, please make sure that you email me, make sure that you text me, let me know what concept it is. If you are watching this as a playback video, leave it in the comment section so that way I can look at it and I can prepare a lesson of potluck for you. All right. I'm going to move this down for a second, and I'm going to go. All right, let me see. All right, so this is the problem that I was working on before the technical difficulty. And again, my apologies. All right, I'm going to bring this back up here. Now, we're working on number 15, and number 15 looks like it's a very long problem, but it's honestly not. All you're simply doing is just reinforcing combining like terms and distributive property. That's really pretty much all you're doing. So what you're going to do again, I said, I have an x here and I have a 6x here. So I can combine these two terms to give me 7x, because remember, a variable that stands alone by itself, the coefficient is 1. So I have 1 plus 6, and it gives me 7x. I also have 1 plus 1. I combined that, and it gave me 2. So I have simply just condensed this whole entire problem to this over here. Okay, that's all I did. Now on my right side, what I did, I have distributive property over here. So I simply just said 3 times x gives me 3x, and 3 times -4 gives me a -12. And I just went ahead and brought down my -x, -4. Okay. Where's my, okay. Uh-oh. Sorry, did not mean to do that. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do now is I want to focus on this negative, or this minus x minus 4. Okay. So again, you want to make sure that you understand how the distributive property works. So to get rid of these parentheses, I'm simply just going to put a -1 in front of there. You don't necessarily have to do that. But when I do that, that's going to give me a -x, and a negative times a negative gives me a positive. Okay. So again, we're reinforcing all of those wonderful things of distributive property, combining like terms and simplifying expressions. Actually, that's really what we're doing. All right, so when I do that, I have 3x minus x, that gives me the 2x, and this is where I left off. So now I have -12 plus 4, and that gives me a -8. Okay. Now, my next goal is to have something on one side, have my letter on one side, and have my answer on the other. So the easiest way for me to do this particular one is, and again, Ms. Hampton is a creature of habit, meaning I was taught to do certain things a certain way. Necessarily don't have to follow that, but I'm just a creature of habit. So what I'm going to do, as soon as I can find my cursor, I am going to subtract my 2x on both sides. Now, when I do this, I am going to be left with 5x plus 2, and that is going to be greater than -8. Okay. Okay, let me scroll down to make sure I have enough room so everyone can see. Now, I'm now going to subtract 2 on both sides. Now, when I do this, I am going to be left with, and I'm going to go ahead and write it over here. I'm going to have 5x is greater than negative 10. Again, how did I get negative 10? This is subtracting integers. Okay, so I have 8, negative 8 minus 2. That is the same thing as me saying negative 8 plus negative 2. And that is how I came up with the negative 10. So again, you have to make sure that knowing your integers, how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide them, because you will see this again as it relates to solving equations as well as inequalities. Now, when I do this, I am dividing by 5. Now, because 5 is positive, let me make this very clear. Because 5 is positive and I'm dividing by 5, my sign will not be flipped. Okay? You only flip your sign when you are dividing or multiplying by a negative number. So because my number 5 is positive and I'm dividing by 5, I do not have to flip my sign. So therefore, my answer is going to be x is less, I'm sorry, x is greater than, negative 2. Okay. Now I'm going to, well, no, I got enough room. So now I'm going to create an open circle above my negative 2. This lets me know that negative 2 is not a part of the solution. And now I'm going to pick a number. To be on the safe side, I'm going to pick 0. Always stick with positive numbers if and when you can, as it relates to dealing with negative numbers. So now I'm just going to substitute 0 in for my x. And I'm going to say, is 0 greater than negative 2? That is totally correct. Remember, positive numbers will always be greater than negative numbers. So what does this mean? That means any number to the right of negative 2 will suffice as a solution. Okay, so I have 3, I have 6.7, I have negative 1.99999. The possibilities are endless. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to do one more problem. Okay. Let me see if I can zoom out. Okay. Perfect. Oops. All right. Make that a little bigger so everybody again can see it. All right. So that was the problem for number 15. Okay. And once I post this video up on my channel, you are more than welcome. I encourage and implore you to do so. You are more than welcome to go back and rewatch this video for further information. Okay. And I'm going to pick one more. And I said I wanted to do number 16. I'm going to keep my word and I'm going to do number 16. But I want to look at numbers 21 and 22 very quickly. All right. Now, these are critical thinking questions, and these are the types of questions that you want to be masters at. This is going to require you to use your deductive reasoning, or in layman's terms, common sense, and what you already know. Okay, so very quickly, it says write an inequality with x on both sides whose solution is x is greater than or equal to 2. Okay, so just want you to think about that. If we do not have time to work on this particular part today, this will be the first thing we hit on tomorrow. Okay. And then number 22 says, name one particular solution to number 20. Now, I like number 20. Number 20 is a very, very good problem simply because it's dealing with a lot of elements that we've already covered. Okay. But I'm going to go ahead and stick with number 16. And we may tackle number 20 on tomorrow if time, if you know, because I know time will not permit us to do it today. But if you want to take a stab at number 20, feel free. All right. So what I'm going to do now. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to cut that and I'm going to make another new page and simply just paste it here. Okay. All right. And I'm going to make this bigger so that way everyone can see it. All right. All right. So number 16 is a nice one as well. Again, do I have any parentheses? Yes. So because we have parentheses, this lets me know that I may have to combine some like terms once I get rid of the parentheses, or I may have to do some other things. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do here. Just going to rewrite this problem very quickly. Okay. And now I have distributive property on both sides. I have it on the left and I have it on the right. So now that simply means I'm just going to be doing a lot of multiplication. So again, making sure that you are strong in your multiplying with integers. If you are not, then this may pose as an issue for you. Okay, so I have -6 times 1. That gives me -6. And then I have -6 plus times a positive 6x. That gives me a -36x. Okay. I have 6 times 1. That gives me 6. And then I have 6 times -5. That gives me a -30x. This is going to already be an interesting problem. Now remember, your goal is to have your variable on one side and your number or answer on the other side. Again, I'm a creature of habit. I was always taught to put my variables on the left. Again, you necessarily don't have to do that, okay? So I'm just going to add 30x to both sides, okay? So when I have -36 plus 30, that leaves me with a -6x. And these things cancel out. Okay, so that's why I crossed that out. Now, my x is already on one side. So now that means I need to add 6 on the other side. When I do that, I have -6x. 6 plus 6 is 12. Now, again, and I'm going to go ahead and write it over here. Well, no, I think I can write it down. Try to conserve on space. Now, because I am dividing by a negative number, this now means my sign is going to be flipped. So that means my answer is going to be x is greater than -2. Because again, I am dividing by a -6. When I divide -6 on both sides, my sign changes. Okay. So instead of it being x is less than, it is now x is greater than. So the good news is I see a -2 up here. Yay. So I am going to create my circle, which is an open circle. Now I'm going to pick a number off the number line. You can never go wrong with 0. So I'm just going to put 0. Is 0 greater than -2? Absolutely, all the time. Yes, it is. So, because that's a true statement, any number to the right of -2 will suffice as this answer or be feasible as a part of the solution. All right. All right. So, that's my answer. That with the answer is X is greater than -2. This is my solution when I graph it as well. Okay. So, I feel in my spirit that I may have to spend one more day on this as a potluck, and that would be totally fine because I really want to look at numbers 21 and 22 because those critical thinking questions are going to play a very important part when you prepare to take your GED exam. Okay, so again, my apologies. I had to redo this video because we had some technical difficulties earlier, but I will be sure to post this video up and leave all of the information towards the end of this video as it relates to playlists that you can check out for reinforcing and making sure that you know how to do these inequalities. Because again, if you know how to do a two-step equation or a multi-step equation, the inequalities will not be too bad for you. Okay. So that's very important. You have to trust the process and you have to know how to work and incorporate each step into different things. Okay. That's very, very important. All right. So now what I'm going to do is because I am out of time and I want to make sure that I have an opportunity to get this video up for you all so that you can watch it in its full entirety and making sure that you are also checking your work as you go along. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the screen share. Okay. And again, I just want to say thank you all so very much for joining me on today. Tomorrow, we will continue with this particular potluck um, concept. And on Wednesday and Thursday, we'll have some new, fresh potluck concepts that we can go over. All right. So again, I'll be sure to leave all of the information probably over here or maybe over here. I'm not quite sure where, but it'll be at the end of this video. All right. So again, Miss Hampton loves each and every one of you. There's absolutely emphatically nothing you can do about it. Okay. I really need you to know that. And so until tomorrow, I pray that you all have a blessed and wonderful Monday. Remember, if you have any questions, leave it in the comment section, or if you have my information, contact me. Okay. And I will see you all tomorrow, Lord willing. You all have a blessed and wonderful Monday.